Hi, my name is Vic Pruitt, and I am the preacher at the Holly Hill Church of Christ. And we are now live streaming, and that means that we are live streaming our worship service at 10:30 a.m. So we're back at the building, and we have had a tremendous amount of response, positive response to that, and so we're really thankful for that. But I also know that there are people that kind of just want to hear a lesson every now and then. So this is going to be the lesson or the sermon in more of a kind of conversational form for Sunday, May 24th, which is also the day before Memorial Day. So happy Memorial Day to you and your family. We remember those who have given their lives so that we can have freedom in our amazing country. So if you see a veteran, I know this is not Veterans Day. We're thinking, and this is a day we remember those who have given their lives. But if you see a veteran, they have put themselves in harm's way for our freedom. So make sure you tell them thank you. So this is the third lesson in our series going through the book of Exodus. And we're going to talk about the name of God today, what that means. What does your name mean? If you can think of that, if you probably already know what your name means. My name is Victor, which means I am conqueror, winner. I am the one who wins, apparently. But when I was younger, I was really proud of my name being conqueror or winner, being Victor. However, it puts a lot of pressure on a kid because, well, what if you fail? What if you lose? Then they're going to go, way to go, winner. Way to go, Victor. And so, of course, there's some of that there as well. So again, what does your name mean? If you know, well, why don't you go ahead and just say it out loud so that you can just, can hear the meaning behind your name. We're finally going to talk about Moses today. His name, by the way, means to be brought from or to be drawn out from the water. That's what the name Moses means. So here's a quick review of the life or the world leading into Moses' life. The Hebrew people were living in Egypt. They were flourishing. They were doing well. Everything was great until tragedy struck. The Egyptian government changed. Overnight, a new Pharaoh comes to power, and he does not know about the partnership Egypt has had with the Hebrew people or with God. And because of that, this new Pharaoh sees the large growing number of Hebrew people. He sees that as a big problem, so much so that he thought, there's too many of them, we got to do something about it. So he enslaves the Hebrew people. And not only that, they begin to execute and kill the young boys, the infant boys that were Hebrew. And so it was just an awful, awful time for the Hebrew people. So Moses is one of these Hebrew boys who was condemned to death. However, Moses, by the grace of God and really through the faith and courage of some amazing women, Moses will be saved. He will live. And during this time, Moses will be raised in two worlds. He'll be raised in both as a Hebrew, connected to the Hebrew people who are enslaved, but he'll grow up in the household of Pharaoh as a prince of Egypt. Pretty cool. You need to read Exodus chapter 1 and 2 to get the full story there, but it's just amazing. He's raised in two worlds. He's raised as a prince of Egypt. And as we said last week, he then will be on the run. And the reason why is because he had killed an Egyptian. I think Moses was thinking, I'm going to help the Hebrew people now. He thinks of himself as a prince, maybe, as the deliverer, as a great leader. So he's going to display or try to display his leadership skills in intervening. And he ends up killing an Egyptian. And maybe this is like some kind of coup attempt against the Pharaoh, because Pharaoh now wants Moses dead. So he's now on the run. He was trusting in his own power, which did not work out. He's not connected to God, not yet. And so his actions seem brash as a prince of Egypt. He does not inspire any kind of following by the Hebrews. He only makes Pharaoh angry angry enough to want to kill him. So Moses is now on the run, experiencing his own exodus, you might say, all the way to a place called Midian. And there he is in Midian. Meanwhile, back in Egypt, at the ranch, there in Egypt, the Pharaoh who wanted Moses dead, he will die. But things are still terrible for the Hebrew people. Things are awful for them. They're still enslaved. They're still mistreated by the Egyptians. In Exodus chapter 2, it says that they will cry out to God because they are enslaved, because they are suffering. And what do we learn about God from chapter 2 at the end of that chapter? It says that God saw, that God heard, God understood their struggle. And he remembered the promise he had made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the promise he has made to the Hebrew people, a promise of redemption and a promise of land. So that brings us to Exodus chapter 3. So in Exodus chapter 3, Moses has been on the run for a long time. He's now married, and he's now shepherding his father-in-law's sheep, and he's made his way across the desert, a long way across the desert. In fact, he's weeks and weeks away from home, and he is going somewhere, wherever really there's grass to feed the sheep, where he's going wherever there is grass for the sheep to graze on. So that's what shepherds do back then. And in doing so, he is practicing some serious social distancing. He is as far away from everybody as you can possibly get. It leads him to a mountain called Horeb. We know it as Mount Sinai. The Bible will also say it's the mountain of God. Horeb means, it has several meanings, but one of the meanings is wasteland. He's in the wasteland. Sounds something like, something from Stephen King, right? He is in the wasteland. And so Moses is in the middle of nowhere, and he is out there by himself. And this is where Moses sees something incredible. He sees a burning bush. And this burning bush, it's on fire, but it's not burning up. Moses, again, he's curious about what's going on, so he makes his way over to the bush. And that's when God speaks to him. And as Moses approached, God finally had to say, "Stop, that's as far as you can get." Now, stop, don't get any closer. We've heard words like that recently, right? You've heard something like that probably during this time of social distancing. It's a message we hear regularly in order to keep the virus from spreading, in order to encourage people to stay a little bit separated so we can stay healthy and stay safe. And so the other day I was out running along the Halifax River, and as I was running on the sidewalk, I saw something odd. I see a lady in the distance coming my way, and in the distance it looked like she had 4 arms. Seriously. So, and she's not really running, she's walking, that speed walking, and so 2 of her arms I can see are doing the, that speed walk with the hips are moving, and she is just, she is moving, and she's moving fast, and her arms are moving. Well, that's 2 of her arms. Her other 2 arms I see are doing this, kind of behind her, and they're just kind of flapping, and they're flapping. I don't know if she's trying to take off or what, but it was the weirdest thing. And I'm like, what am I looking at here? And as she got a little bit closer, I realized, okay, well, 2 of those are the arms, but the other 2, the flopping, it's not arms. It was a pool noodle that she had taped to her back. and I guess as she was walking really fast, moving those hips, her pool noodle was doing this. Obviously, this was her unique, interesting way of social distancing, telling people, hey, stop. That's as far as you get. This is my perimeter. This is my safety space to keep from getting sick from your virus or from your germs. It obviously got my attention. And I guess in a way it did work, saying, stop because of the coronavirus. That's as far as you can get. Well, in Exodus chapter 3, God is saying to Moses, because of your sin, stop. That's as far as you can get. That's as close as you can come. No further. God wants to be with people. He wants to be with Moses. The problem is, because of sin, that's as far as Moses can get. Moses is a sinner, and Moses has sinned. Moses like all of us, has failed. The problem is that our sin gets in the way and comes between us and our relationship with God. So God is holy and Moses is not. The separation is there. This is far as Moses can get. So listen to the next thing that God says in verse 7. The Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt. I have heard their cry because of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. I have come down to deliver them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up from the land to a land that is both good and spacious, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the region of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites. That's a lot of ites, right? And now, indeed, the cry of the Israelites has come to me, and I have seen how severely the Egyptians oppress them. So now go, and I will send you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. God has this mission, this incredible mission, and he's announcing it to Moses. And I think God is saying, look, Moses, I'm going to deliver my people out of the bonds of slavery, and I'm going to lead them to the promised land. Moses heard all of this and probably is thinking, that's great. I'm all on board on this one. It's about time. Yay! But then God said, Moses, you're the one that's going to lead them. You and we're going to partner together and we're going to do this together. You're going to go back to Egypt and you're going to lead them. You're going to be my representative in Egypt. And that's where Moses goes, whoa, 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 He's all on board until he hears that part. And he offers 5 objections to why he is not the guy. He is not the person that God is wanting to send. He's basically saying, who, me? You're not sending me. You don't want me. In fact, that's really kind of how he starts. Because in chapter 3, verse 11, Moses will say, I'm a nobody. I'm not the right guy. Look at me. I'm not worthy of this. I'm no good. I'm no good to you. I'm no good to them. So Moses is saying, I've tried that already. I've tried to help these people. It didn't work out. I failed. I am not the right guy. And God responds in verse 12 by saying, look, Moses, I'll be with you. I will be with you all the way through this. Moses, you will not be alone. I will do all the heavy lifting. You just go. I will provide the power. You provide the faith. So that's the first answer from God to the objection of Moses. And then the second objection to Moses comes. In verse 13, Moses will say, wait a minute. Say I go along with this. Who would I even say is sending me? I don't even know your name. God will answer, my name is Yahweh. My name is Yahweh, which means I am the I am. Now that's probably not exactly the name Moses was looking for. He's probably looking for something that was, something a little bit more, descriptive and the awesomeness and the all-inspiring power of God. But basically he says, I am Yahweh. I am the I am. And God is saying, I am. And basically this word Yahweh is always in God's relationship to people. That's how it's connected. It's not a description of who God is universally. It's a description of who God is with people, who God is with the Israelites, who God is with Moses. So in this case, he says, I am the I am. My name is the I am your God. I am with you. I am the God of the Hebrew people. I am with them. That is my name. I am their power, I am their love, I am their faith, I am their hope, I am their peace, I am their courage, I am their strength, I am their provider. I am the I am. Wherever, no matter where you go, no matter what's happening, I am God with you. And so that's I am. And so that's what Yahweh means. Moses keeps on objecting. So we get into Exodus chapter 4. Moses will say, the people will not listen to me. They will not believe. And so God says, okay, fine. How about this? I will provide you some miracles, some signs. And in fact, let's practice them right now. This is sort of like this moment of like kind of Yoda and Luke, sort of that that Jedi training going on right here. That's what it feels like, because here God's going to offer these 3 miracles to Moses in verses 2 through 9 of chapter 4. And he's going to basically say, these miracles, I want you to use them so that the people will believe. So the first one, let's go ahead and practice that, Moses. That's what God is saying. First one, Moses, what's that in your hand? Moses goes, this? Well, it's a staff. And God says, okay, well, if it's a staff, then throw the staff on the ground. And Moses did. And what did the staff do? It became a snake. And so it becomes a snake, and Moses sees it, and this is how you know the Bible's just real, about real people, because Moses does what a normal human being would do when a staff turns into a snake, or basically whenever you see a snake. He goes, ah, and he runs. He flees from the snake. And so that's what he does. And then God said, Moses, pick that thing up. And God is smart. He knows Moses. He knows human behavior. He's like, Moses is not going, okay, I'm going to pick it up by the head. No, he says, go pick that thing up by the tail. Don't pick it up by the head. It'll bite you. So he picks it up by the tail, delicately, carefully, picks it up, and then boom, staff once again. Pretty cool. All right. So God is the God who can take things and turn it from one to the other, from just an object to an animal back to an object. That's who God is. He's powerful. All right, so the next miracle is a backup miracle. Say that miracle doesn't work, Moses. Well, here's a backup miracle. Take your hand, okay, put it in your cloak, okay, and pull it back out. It's leprous. Now, we don't know exactly what that looked like or what that meant. It was some kind of terrible skin condition to his hand. Something looked awful, and Moses saw that. And so Moses then put it back into his cloak, took it back out, and then boom, he is healed, right? And so Moses basically is going to use the first sign. If that doesn't, change their minds, then maybe the second sign will cause them to believe. And if that doesn't cause them to believe, then there's a third miracle. He can take water from the Nile, and that water can turn into blood. Now, you would think Moses would be convinced by now, right? Because these are not normal things that can happen just any day, every day, right? This is powerful stuff that God is showing to Moses. So what is God saying to Moses here? God is telling Moses, I am whatever you need me to be. The people will believe through these miracles, and they will believe just like your ancestors did, just like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob believed. In fact, God will bring up that promise and that connection, that relationship to the ancestors of the Hebrew people. All right, so we get to verse 7. Moses keeps objecting. Why? I don't know. Well, we do know. We'll get to that in just a moment. But he keeps objecting. He says, look, I'm not a good speaker. That's why I can't go. I'm unable to effectively communicate to these people. I won't do a good job. It will be awful. Seriously. God's response is, look, I am the creator. I'm the one who creates speech and gives people speech. I will be your words. I will be your mouth. It's no big deal. I will teach you how to speak the truth. This all leads to a very powerful moment. This is the fifth objection, the last objection. See, God has been alone with Moses for a while now. And all this time together, all of this alone time has led to the real truth, to the real problem, to the real reason why Moses doesn't want to go. And it comes down to the fact that Moses says, look, I don't want to go. I just don't want to go. In fact, he's been kind of going along this. This is his excuses so far. So far, he said, I'm not the right guy for the mission. The people won't believe in the mission. They don't know who you are. I won't know how to explain it. I'm not a good talker. The mission won't work. But God has successfully refuted all those. And finally, the truth is revealed in all of this. The truth is revealed. And it's in verse 13. And Moses, it's not only Moses' truth, but it can be our truth. If we spend enough alone time with God, truth is revealed. And in verse 13, Moses says, I just don't want to do it. I just scared, tired. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel adequate. I don't feel like I'm the right guy. Someone else has got to do it right. I don't want to do it. What if I fail? What if people see me? What? And so he just goes on with these excuses. In other words, I just don't want to. Send someone else. And that was the truth all along. All these other things Moses said, they were just excuses. Moses just wasn't connected to God. He wasn't connected to his people any longer. He just didn't care enough or desire enough to go, to follow God. God becomes angry over this one. God becomes angry over this one, and rightfully so. But yet God doesn't strike Moses down, and yet there's a threat for that, and that's another story. We've actually talked about that a couple of weeks ago. That'll come a few verses later, but not for this lesson. God still doesn't strike Moses down here, even though Moses is saying, I don't want to go, send someone else. God says, okay, fine. Plan B. God's angry over this, and yet he's still willing to work with Moses. He offers a plan B. Have you ever noticed how plan B usually involves someone else? Plan B is a result of user error. So plan B says, hey, can I get someone else to help me here? Can someone show me what I did wrong? Can someone help me get through this whole process here? Well, plan B in this story is, hey, God, Moses, you can work with your brother. You can work with Aaron through this whole thing. Aaron will help you. That wasn't God's initial plan, but God has shown his patience and his flexibility with people. And this is not the first time God has shown that. Throughout the biblical story, that's how God operates with people. That's how the I am operates with people. So Moses is finally seemingly on board from that point on. So why does this story matter to us? There is a reason. The world may think of God as one who forces his will upon people. And yet in this story, we see that God is flexible and that God is patient. And it's interesting to me that how people will describe God in the Old Testament saying, oh yeah, he is the God of vengeance and he's harsh. That's who God is in the Old Testament. And yet this story, like many others throughout the Old Testament, going into the New Testament, describe God as patient, as flexible, willing to work within the concerns of people. That's how God has always been. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So God, and most importantly though, in this story, and maybe this is something that is just kind of, it seems obvious, but it kind of blows my mind to think about too. Throughout the story of the Exodus, God makes it clear he wants to be known. He wants to be known by all people. And if you read the story again through the story of the Exodus, you will see God not only wants to be known by Moses, he wants to be known by the Hebrew people, but he also wants to be known by the Egyptian people. He wants to be known by Pharaoh. In fact, he'll even say in the story of the Exodus, I want to be known by the whole world. So that is God. He wants to be known. And that's an important aspect of God in this story. In fact, it's the reoccurring theme throughout the entire story. God wants Moses, he wants the Hebrews and the Egyptians and the whole world to know him. In fact, we all have a choice in how we will know him. We all have a choice in how we will know him. We're either going to know him through worship or we'll know him through judgment. And we will see that the Hebrews, many of them, most of them, will finally make their way out of Egypt, and they will come to know God in worship. There will be some who will come to know God in judgment. And we'll see that many, if not most, of the Egyptian people, they will come to know God, but they will come to know God in judgment. And really the same goes for us. We're either going to know him in worship or we'll know him in judgment. I kind of want to know him in worship, don't you? Right? So as we close out the lesson, we're going to talk about God's name just for a moment. Exodus 3:14. We kind of ran through that really quick, didn't we? Yahweh. The original Hebrew does not have any vowels, so the name Yahweh looks more like YHWH. But again, as we said earlier, it means I am, excuse me, I am the I am. This name for God does not reveal anything about God away from people or creation, because the name Yahweh is what God calls himself in relationship to people. It is God saying to us, I am with you in all places and all times. I am your words. I am your heart. I am your mission. I am your redemption. I am your faith, hope, love, and peace. No matter where, no matter what, I am your God. Early on in Moses' life, there were a lot of distractions. Those distractions eventually drove him away from his family, from his people, and away from his God. The world has a way of making us the worst versions of ourselves, isolating us, causing us to run away, causing loneliness, causing fear, causing doubt. That's what happened to Moses. The world shaped Moses into a lonely old man on the run. That is until God rescued him. Is the world trying to shape you into something you don't want to be? Probably. That's just how the world works. The world's always trying to shape us into something that we should not be or we don't want to be. God, the great I am, wants to shape us. He wants to change the story, to change our story. He offers us mission. He offers us purpose. He offers us relationship. He offers us hope. He offers us this desire to connect with him. In fact, he desires our worship, that relationship. There's one name I hear over and over again lately. It's a name you hear too. It's a name I'm sick of hearing. COVID-19. Coronavirus. I'm so tired of hearing that name over and over again. There's one name I hear, and I'm just tired of hearing it, COVID-19. There's a better name out there. There is a better name we should be crying out to, that we should be talking about, that we should be focused on every day. It's a name that we should be living by. The name of Jehovah, the name of God. He is the I am who patiently works with us. And through him, we are shaped into the best version of ourselves. The great I am will guide us through the struggle that we're in. The great I am will help us overcome this one and the next one. He will bring us all the way to the promised land, to the place that he's always been promising to his people. One day we'll be with him in heaven. So with that said, we got to stop running from God. We got to stop running. We got to stop isolating ourselves from him and be with him. Commit our lives to the great I am. We do that today, and we're connected to the one who wants to be with us, the one who loves us, and the one who saves us. Connect with the I am.